Hello, everyone. My name is Nazlı Okumuş. I'm a second-year general cardiology fellow at Allegheny Health Network in Pittsburgh and a CardioNerds Fit ambassador.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sahil Jumkawala, and I am a third-year internal medicine resident at the Rutgers, New Jersey Medical School program, and I'm a CardioNerds Academy fellow. Happy to be with you all today.
This interview is part of a CardioNerds SCAI 2022 collaboration with mentorship from Dr. Alex Truesdale. Today, we have the pleasure of discussing DanGer shock trial with Jacob Moller, who is a professor at the University of Southern Denmark in acute heart failure. Dr. Moller is also a senior consultant at the cardiac intensive care unit at Copenhagen University Hospital, Rigshospitalet. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. Dr. Moller, please correct me if I'm wrong. He participated in several national and international research groups and is the principal investigator of the DanGer shock trial, which is designed to compare left ventricular mechanical circulatory support with Impella CP to conventional guideline-driven treatment in acute MI cardiogenic shock. Dr. Moller, thank you so much for being here with us today to speak about the very important DANISH cardiogenic shock trial, or DanGer shock. What do you hope that this study will help elucidate regarding choice of treatment for cardiogenic shock in the acute intensive care setting?
Well, thank you for having me and giving me this opportunity. You said Rigshospitalet very nicely. So for DanGer shock, I think that is a piece in the puzzle on how to treat cardiogenic shock. At the moment, it's mostly empirical work we do. We know revascularization works. We don't know much else can improve outcome. Mechanical circulatory support makes extremely good sense in these cases where the heart can't do the job. You put a motor in that does the job, and that must be beneficial. But these motors come at a cost, both for the heart and for the body. So we need to test whether this works. And I think DanGer shock is a first step in that direction that will test whether a routine use of this device is beneficial for these patients. But it's only one step. It won't be the complete answer.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Dr. Moller. We know that there are also many factors that inform the choice of specific circulatory support employed in each case. Given that the placebo comparator is that of conventional circulatory support, how do you believe that operator or cultural variability among the different sites may impact the results, especially with increasing background use of the Impella family of devices as standard therapy in some practices?
I think that's the tough and very, very good question. Firstly, I think the thought of introducing a drug for heart failure without testing it, nobody would use the drug. So we have to test these devices in randomized trials. For the comparator, that's difficult because some places think you do harm if you place an Impella. Some places think you do harm if you put an ECMO into a patient. And that is why these studies are so important. So for DanGer shock, the comparator will be pharmacological therapy. And if that's inadequate, ECMO. That's what I've done in the sites that are participating in the study. And I think that's a fair comparator. It's a European study, and there are German sites, and they obviously believe in Holger Thiele's balloon pump study. So did we when it came out. So there is very little balloon pumping in DanGer shock, but there are a fair amount of ECMO, and I think that is the true comparator for this study. So if drugs are inadequate, some patients are placed on the ECMO, and I think that reflects common practice.
So how do you think the increased use of more robust auxiliary Impella devices such as Impella 5 or 5.5 will affect the result and generalizability of the study?
Again, that's an important question. If I had the luxury of placing a 5.0 or a 5.5 in the same time as I can place a CP, I would do it every time because it's a better and more powerful device, but it takes time. You need a graft on the axillary artery in most cases, and therefore you cannot do it within 5 minutes where you can place an Impella CP. So until a more rapid access, the device that can deliver 5 liters, it is the CP, because time is muscle in these patients. They all have large STEMIs, so they need to be immediately revascularized, and you cannot delay that until you have a surgeon that put a graft in. So I think not for the forthcoming years, there will be devices available. So the Impella CP is the right comparator here.
And I see that the primary endpoint here is death from all causes at 6 months. Would you be able to share some background as to how that was chosen?
Yeah, that was something that went into some discussion when we designed the study 10 years ago. And I still think there's only really one outcome you can have in cardiogenic shock trials, and that is death from all causes. The death rate is so high that any other endpoint would not make much sense. And the other thing about the duration, if you remember the shock trial from Judy Hoffman, the study was neutral on the primary endpoint, which was 30-day mortality, but positive at the secondary endpoint that was 180-day mortality. And I think that's an important lesson, that this is not a condition that is over in 30 days. We have a good few patients in this study that are not discharged at 30 days. So they are still hospitalized, and using 30-day as a cutoff there seems not right if the patients are still in hospital. So we want to capture the disease. I know from a publication standpoint, we might miss the chance of having 2 high impact publication, one after 30 days and one after 1 year. But I think the right choice is to look at the disease and look at the outcome then at 6 months. I would, if we had to do it over again, I would choose the same again.
Well, to that end, Dr. Muller, one of the secondary endpoints listed is cost of treatments. And as we know, health economics are really crucial when we're discussing such costly, innovative, cutting-edge interventions, especially in the critical care setting. So what impact do you think that answering those questions will have? And how do you think that we can draw implications into practice beyond the Danish healthcare system?
I am really, really puzzled how the cost analysis will be, because if we save lives with the Impella, like I really, really hope and believe we will, it will be very expensive lives. So we may very well end up saying that we save lives, but at a very high cost, and that will give some discussion as well. But I think it's a very important discussion also to have how costly this strategy will be. So I think it's a very important, that it's something we have really focused on in the study, and it's one of the key secondary endpoint is the health economy evaluation. But I'm really not sure how we will interpret this, but it will be exciting as well.
Absolutely, and we look forward to seeing the results. Pivoting slightly, Dr. Muller, you recently published a groundbreaking study in the Journal of American Heart Association last July, discussing the different phenotypic variants of cardiogenic shock. In that paper, they were divided into clusters of non-congested, or 1, cardiorenal, or 2, and cardiometabolic, or 3, shock. How do you think that the choice of Impella versus conventional circulatory support may vary across these phenotypes? And do you see these groups being stratified in future trials?
We are planning a sub-study based on these phenotypes in DanGer shock to look into whether there will be an interaction with these phenotypes and the effect of the pump. I think it's very important to look into phenotypes, even in DanGer, where we have attempted to have a homogeneous population, only having STEMIs, excluding out of hospital cardiac arrest. The population is very heterogeneous. So we need to dive into, does this device work as well in SCAI class C as in SCAI class D or E, which are also represented in the study? Do these metabolic renal phenotypes, do they benefit the same way? And it can very well be that it is not the case, that the cases that are more multimorbid will have less effect, and the more pure SCAI class C, low cardiac output, not a lot of comorbidity, will have much better effect. So that will be exciting sub-studies and very crucial sub-studies, and we will be challenged on power here in the study. So there are a lot of, so it will not end with DanGer shock, even if it's positive. We need more studies to understand this disease more, because it's so many diseases we call the same.
Absolutely. Well, we really look forward to seeing the results. Thank you so much, Dr. Muller, for taking the time to be here. This was really incredible. And thank you for all of the work that you're doing in DanGer shock as well. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today, and take care.
Thank you.